Well, this is an honor to talk to you because I've been a Kimmy Schmidt fan since season one. My husband and I are obsessed with 21 Jump Street. I love Bridesmaids. So
Oh,
this is like an honor to talk to you today.
well, thank you for saying that. That makes me feel relevant. Thank you.
Hypothetically, if Kimmy, in Kimmy's world, if she had to self quarantine during this time, I'm just curious if she would be prepared or if she would freak out. What do you think that she would do if she had to deal with this right now?
Listen, I have been trying to take cues from Kimmy when I'm imagining that very same thing, and I think, well, how would she handle this right now? I think she would be excelling at quarantining if there is such a thing. I think prepared or no, that's just the whole point. Like you can't prepare for something like this. I think she does well with little preparation. She learns to adapt to whatever her circumstances provide to her. So I've been trying to get into a sort of Kimmy mind frame during this. I am an extremely lucky person in real life. My family is safe. I am safe. So the circumstances are not as extreme as of what Kimmy went through, but yeah, I think she has offered a lot of wisdom, just fictionally, to me
Mm-hmm.
during this surreal time. So yeah, I think she can teach. She could teach a lot of lessons about self quarantine.
100%. Well, like I said, I've been like an original fan since season one. And what I've always loved about how you portray Kimmy is that she's just so likable. She's so genuine. She's so enthusiastic about the world. And I'm kind of curious, like, if you could take me back to when you first found Kimmy's voice, because she has a very distinct voice and she's very specific in the way she says things. So I'm curious how you found her voice, if that was a discussion with Tina Fey or if that's something that kind of you developed early on.
Um, Again, thank you for saying these nice things about the show. That's very that's an honor that you.
I honestly love it. It's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen.
Well, thank you for saying that. That is a credit, of course, to the creators, Tina and Robert, who write the funniest scripts on the planet. So, in terms of finding the voice of Kimmy, so much of that was already there because I read the pilot and it was like this perfect combination of, okay, here's a survivor, this extremely tenacious, resilient young woman who also is really strange. And she's strange just because I think she just is inherently strange, but also she missed, years of her life, of her formative years being trapped in a bunker. So there's of course the very endless comedy of her not understanding pop culture references, not knowing what happened during that time that she was underground. But I think in terms of finding the voice, I as an actor had concerns about the overlap between Erin Hannon from The Office, who I had just finished playing, and this new character Kimmy. And I talked to Tina about that. I said, are these, when we were filming the pilot, I asked her if she felt that there was any overlap there, and she said no. And that was about all she said. So it was like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about that. But I do think so much of it is just automatically there in the writing of this character and what Tina and Robert created when writing her, because she's not a dummy. She says pretty dumb things, but she is just, she just missed a lot of the world. That's what it is. And her thinking is childlike. I think her logic is very childlike and sort of adorable in certain ways. But she's clearly an intelligent person, and I loved that she went to therapy and that she, really unpacked what had happened to her, because I think that's important for anyone to do, but especially someone who went through such an extreme experience as she did. So, no, she's an emotionally intelligent, young woman, but also I think that I'm really answering this question. The pivots she has to take from saying these really cartoony things to being an actual, like deep sort of rich person is that's tough sometimes.
100%. And I like how you touched on, and this is the last question for you, but I like how you touched on the fact that, yes, this is a comedy. The show's very funny, but this person and these women have had such a traumatic experience. And my favorite part of the special, and I don't want to get into too many spoilers, is the scene later with Kimmy and the Reverend, of course, played by the incredible John Hamm, and how you get to choose different things. I watched every single one. I did every single thing. And it was almost like a cathartic experience for me as a fan, being able to explode. So I'm just wondering, for you filming each of those, sequences, did it give you kind of any type of like closure or anything for Kimmy's character?
Yes, you mentioned catharsis. I felt the same way. I mean, I also was pregnant when filming it, so I did feel like my hormones were like all over the place.
Oh,
So some of
wow.
the more extreme outcomes that you can choose as a viewer, I felt were very freeing to be able to play. But also, I think that we were filming this, sort of, and Me Too is, all around us. And I felt like this is a way, this young woman is really having her sort of moment to, I don't want to call it vengeance, but she's really righting all the wrongs that he not only did to her, but is now inflicting on these other women. And that did feel very powerful to be able to play that. And again, yes, there are different outcomes, but I filming each one was cathartic in its own way. And the only tough thing was taking it out on John Hamm because he's so lovely. But the Reverend is not.
Yes, exactly. Well, I appreciate your time today, Ellie. And I honestly think this is the time to get Bridesmaids 2 in the works. Let's call
Lauren,
it Kristen Wiig and do it.
Get it done. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. That would be
awesome. Thank you so much, Ellie. I appreciate it. Hi, Daniel. How are you doing?
Hi, Lauren. I'm good. How are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you too. I absolutely loved this special, and I loved you as Prince Frederick. I specifically love this scene where I think it's Kimmy and Jacqueline, and they're spewing insults at each other. And you say, "Isn't American insult comedy great?" And I sorry if you've been asked this before, but I'm curious, like for you, like what American comedians or comedies, that you grew up on, or that you even currently still love.
Oh, I mean, like so many. I mean, obviously there's, I grew up watching stuff like Friends and Everybody Loves Raymond and Frasier. And like I love all those shows, particularly like Frasier for me is the one that as I've got, like when I was young, I was like not that into it. And then as I got older, I was like, oh my God, particularly like David Hyde Pierce in that show is just incredible. And so like that show is amazing. And then getting older, like I mean 30 Rock honestly was a huge piece of American comedy for me that like I was like I feel like that introduced me to a lot of people and sort of to a new style of comedy. And The American Office was obviously like amazing. I'm sure I could go on as well. Like I'm a big fan of, generally speaking, of like American comedy shows. I think they're some of the best kind of writing and around.
Yeah. Well, I love the scene with Prince Frederick and Kimmy, and we have the interactiveness of what they're going to do next, make out, plan the wedding. So I'm curious for you, when you and Ellie are filming those scenes, do you film every single sequence in one day, or does that kind of happen over like a couple of days? Because it's like, okay, now we're going to do the making out scene, now we're going to do planning the wedding. How was it like on set in regards to filming all of the different options?
Yeah, no, it happens pretty much in as quick succession as it can, because obviously you're in the same set, and like 90% of the set and costumes and makeup all stays the same, and then sometimes there'll be like a few changes. Ellie, actually, that's not true of Ellie. Like regularly had like huge costume changes for different scenes. But yeah, it would all happen sort of quite quickly. So you'd film version A and do 3 takes of that, and then film version B from the same angle, and then C and D, and then switch angles, and then start from version A again, and just like So it was a real it was a real challenge to put together. But thankfully, the burden of that challenge fell largely on the director, Claire, and our script supervisor, and editors, and writers, and all the people who are not the actors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do have a hypothetical question for you. I'm sure you've been getting asked Harry Potter questions, your entire life. But I was thinking, if we as the audience had the choice to watch a Harry Potter film and have that interactive capability where the audience could choose what would happen, what do you think the most interesting choice would be out of any of the films? I feel like for me, like I love Azkaban so much. I feel like that or like maybe even the last film. I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably. Oh, I mean, yeah, I think probably the last film and the last couple of films are like the most complicated and sort of morally sort of. Actually, the third one is pretty sort of like morally ambiguous as well, and you like don't know what when Sirius is first appearing, you like don't know what that character is really, and yeah, I don't know. It could be. I would have to revisit them to give a truly good answer, which is not something I've done for a while. But yeah, I expect probably like the third one or maybe the last one would be the ones to give the choose your own adventure treatment to. But I can't think of individual choices. I will think more on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time, Daniel. And my husband and I are literally watching Swiss Army Man tonight. That's going to be our quarantine in-home movie night. Yes.
Oh, great. Well, enjoy. Thank you so much.